Hello, my name is Britney. I often reflect on how drastically my life would have differed had my mother not fallen ill. She passed away when I was 6 years old, and from that moment, everything transformed. Our home, once resonant with her laughter and filled with pictures of our joyful family, changed completely. Dad struggled immensely. For months, he barely spoke, simply going to work and returning home, where I tried my best to remain quiet and avoid disturbing him. At that tender age, death was beyond my comprehension, so I continuously questioned when Mom would come back from heaven. Dad's response was always a silent, comforting hug. Eventually, he met Sandra at a work event. Her visits for dinner became frequent, and I noticed the change as Dad began to smile more. This change perhaps made me keep silent as, one by one, Mom's photos vanished from the walls, replaced by new ones including Sandra. "Britney, Sandra, and I have something to announce," Dad spoke one evening. In the living room, as I played with the hem of my dress, feeling apprehensive, they explained, "Sandra and I are getting married. She'll live with us and be your new mom. Everything will be wonderful," he assured. But it wasn't. As they returned from their honeymoon, Sandra immediately began altering everything, from rearranging furniture to repainting walls and establishing house rules. Daily Shear marked, "Britney, your room's a mess again. A young lady should maintain a tidy space. And please lower your voice. I have a headache." I was expected to help with chores despite my young age. Whenever I grumbled to Dad, he'd simply say, "Listen to Sandra, honey. She knows what's best." One day, I overheard a heated argument in their room. Pressing my ear to the door, I caught Sandra saying, "She's not adjusting well, John. Maybe it'd be better if she stayed with your mother. She often mentions missing having family around." Dad's response was quiet but firm. "No, I made a promise to Sarah to look after Britney. Plus, the money she left is meant for Britney's college education. I gave my word." Unbeknownst to me, things were about to worsen. A year later, Sandra became pregnant, altering everything once more. Dad was ecstatic, and Sandra endlessly expressed excitement about having her own child. Those words cut deeper than any rule or chore, for to her, I was merely someone else's child, never her own. When Emma was born, I was just 8 years old. Standing beside Dad in the hospital hallway, I peered through the nursery window at my newborn sister. "You're a big sister now, Britney," Dad proudly stated. "You'll help take care of Emma, won't you?" I eagerly nodded, clueless about what that truly entailed. That changed quickly once Emma came home. Sandra wasted no time turning me into her helper. "Britney, fetch fresh diapers," she'd order. "Britney, wash these bottles. Britney, hold Emma while I make a call." The demands were relentless. By 9, I was adept at changing diapers, preparing baby formula, and cooking simple meals. While other children my age played outdoors, I was occupied mashing bananas and preparing rice cereal for Emma. "But I want to attend Sarah's birthday party," I implored one Saturday. "Emma needs you here," Sandra stated firmly. "She's teething and fussy. Plus someone needs to clean up her playroom mess." As Emma grew, so did my duties. I constantly watched her, ensuring she didn't topple while learning to walk or put dangerous objects in her mouth. Meanwhile, Emma received endless attention and gifts. Every tantrum led to a new treat or toy. At 4, she realized she could get me into trouble at will, and she exploited this power frequently. Once, she purposefully spilled juice over her dress and then, crying, accused, "Britney pushed me." That weekend, I found myself grounded in my room. Another time, she broke a musical toy and falsely claimed Britney was playing with it when it broke. Despite being occupied with homework at the time, I lost my allowance for a month to cover the replacement. The situation seemed unbearable. One day, during a room inspection, Sandra discovered a pair of scissors hidden in my backpack, which had been used to snip her party dress. Sandra was furious, accusing me of jealousy and asking if I knew the dress's value. I tried explaining, but Dad cut in, telling me to head to my room as he would determine my punishment later. As I passed by, Emma stood at the doorway, smirking, fully aware she'd pinned the blame on me again. She had a knack for causing chaos and getting away with it while I bore the blame. Grandma Rose's home was my sanctuary from the chaos. Every weekend felt like entering a new world, where laughter and freedom reigned amidst the aroma of fresh cookies. "Your skin and bones," she'd exclaim, piling my plate with pancakes, contrasting the Cinderella-like chores at my house. Emma discovered Grandma's wisdom when she tried demanding ice cream before dinner, which was firmly denied with a reminder that rewards don't come from tantrums. Emma never revisited, claiming Grandma's place lacked excitement because it held rules for all. Then came a pivotal day. Emma threw a major tantrum over homework just as Grandma visited. "John," Grandma addressed my dad sternly, "Emma's spoiled, and you need to address it." Sandra reddened, rejecting Grandma's critique. "I have every right," Grandma defended, pointing at the unequal treatment of her granddaughters. That night, voices rose downstairs as Sandra declared we'd stop visiting Grandma Rose. "That's unjust," I cried out, but Sandra retorted, "Life isn't fair," and warned against contacting her. College became my escape, the goal I fixated on as I focused on studies, counting until graduation. Mom's left savings, often discussed by Dad, promised my way out. But on the day of my graduation, they broke the news. Dad and Sandra decided that the education funds would be assigned to Emma, citing her bright future. Sandra remarked I was more apt for practical work. Anger and betrayal erupted. Those were my funds left by Mom. I rebuked Dad, labeling him a liar. "You ungrateful girl," Dad shouted, adding I'd leave the next day. I didn't wait. Swiftly, I gathered essentials, collected a hidden photo of Mom, and departed. Jenny, my friend, had offered her family's home if circumstances worsened, and now I needed that haven. Being a waitress post-high school wasn't ideal, but it covered expenses to an extent. Working tirelessly at Silver Spoon, I ended my nights exhausted and smelling of fried food, but enjoyed my independence. Jenny's parents were generous in the challenging initial months, but I sought a more permanent solution. I met Maria, a fellow waitress needing a roommate. "It's tiny," she noted about the apartment, "and the neighbors are loud." She was right. The space barely accommodated 2 beds and a couch, yet it was ours. No answers due to anyone were required. Sharing shifts and living costs, we made it work. "Thinking about college?" Maria occasionally inquired as we counted tips. Expenses barely left room for savings, and college seemed far-fetched. IT was a random Tuesday afternoon when my phone unexpectedly rang, nearly making me drop the coffee pot I was holding. I couldn't believe the number I was seeing. 52, Whitney, sweetheart, I've been trying to find you. How is college treating you?" Her voice was a comforting surprise. My throat tightened. "Grandma, I'm not in college." She was taken aback. "What do you mean?" "Your father had saved Sarah's money for this." At that moment, it all poured out of me. The argument, being expelled, working tirelessly as a waitress. By the end, my tears flowed in the quiet solitude of the restaurant's break room, and the silence over the line was so long that I worried we had been disconnected. Finally, she spoke, her voice trembling with anger. "Those selfish, miserable people. Listen to me, Britney. I'm paying for your college, no debates." I protested. "Grandma, I can't let you do that." "You're not letting me do anything. I've already decided," she interrupted. "Your mother was like family, and I won't allow them to take away your future. Have you considered any schools?" I mentioned the local university offering evening classes. "Perfect," she said. "We'll get you set for the next semester." "But, Brittany," she hesitated. "Keep this between us. I don't want to handle your father or that woman." I chuckled through tears. "Trust me, Grandma, neither do I." That decision set my path, working full-time as a waitress and studying whenever I could. The day started at 5 a.m. with books, followed by classes, then straight to work until closing. Exhausted, I'd return home, my feet aching, scented with the restaurant's aroma, only to dive back into my studies. Maria often remarked, "Girl, when do you ever sleep?" "Sleep is for the weak," I quipped, chugging my 3rd cup of coffee. Yet, for the first instant since leaving home, I felt progress. Each exam passed. Every essay submitted felt like a victory, not just for me, but for Mom too. I might not handle her money, but I was clawing toward the education she dreamed for me. The best part was, my family was none the wiser, likely picturing me as a stagnant server. Let them believe what they would. I quit aiming to prove myself to those who were uninterested. While studying for my business management final, Emma's notification appeared on Facebook. Her profile displayed a grin beside a new red Mercedes, clad in designer, were worth more than my rent. Check what Mom and Dad gifted for my birthday, the caption bragged. Not that you'd relate to nice cars. Serving burgers must be a blast. Another photo followed, an acceptance to state, courtesy of parents financing all, tuition, board, meals, even a promised European spring trip. At least you get free fries during shifts, right? I surveyed her words, then my textbook, tempted to share my nearly perfect GPA and upcoming honors graduation, but instead, I selected block user and resumed studying. 3 weeks hence, I graduated with my business degree, Grandma the lone family witness to my achievement. Post-ceremony, we celebrated at a different restaurant. Shortly after, Mr. Peterson, the owner, summoned me. Britney, we've noticed your effort. How about a shift manager role? He commended my understanding of the place and rapport with the staff. My education played a part too. It was a first step. 6 months on, promoted to floor administrator, I basked in a doubled salary and newly attainable independence, moving from Maria's cramped share. As the years passed, my ascension continued, and by 30, I managed the entire restaurant. The Silver Spoon had evolved into a city-renowned dining destination, and industry magazines started highlighting my name. My family, still under the impression I lingered as a waitress, remained oblivious. Home became a chic downtown high-rise with sweeping urban views, where morning coffee was accompanied by the thrill of personal growth from a runaway teen with a backpack to accomplished business leader. On a tranquil Monday, a message arrived from Mrs. Roberts, our kindly former neighbor, who had supported me through rough patches, often passing me cookies during Sandra's rough days. I concealed my mom's photo album, knowing Sandra intended to discard it. Britney, sweetie, there's something you should be aware of, a voice informed me. Emma's graduating next week, and her plans aren't pleasant. She's made arrangements at the Silver Spoon, aware that you work there. She's been gloating to everyone about how she'll have you serving her table, claiming it'd be amusing for her college dropout sister to wait on her graduation gathering. She's invited her highbrow friends and a few of our former neighbors, spreading the word that she's going to demonstrate what a failure you ended up being. I needed to let you know. As I reclined in my leather office chair, observing the restaurant floor through the one-way glass, the lunch surge had just started. I watched my adept staff navigate effortlessly between tables like a well-orchestrated performance. A gradual smile formed on my face as I accessed our reservation system. There it was, Emma Wilson, a party of 15, Saturday at 7 p.m., a graduation celebration. She even requested the finest table in the establishment, noting that money was no issue. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could annul it with a single click, making their reservation vanish. I could have Janet ring them with some excuse of a plumbing issue or double booking, but I had a superior plan. Picking up my phone, I called Grandma, who answered on the second ring, likely in her garden where she kept her phone close while tending to her cherished roses. "You'll never guess who's dining at my restaurant," I said when she answered. "Who?" "Emma and Dad and Sandra. They're there to commemorate her graduation. Apparently, she specifically chose this venue to disgrace her sister, who's a waitress. Mrs. Roberts just cautioned me about it." Grandma's tone grew firm. "Cancel her reservation. You don't need that negativity, Britney. Haven't they caused you enough pain?" I couldn't help but grin as I glanced at my Businesswoman of the Year award framed on my wall. "I have a different plan. How about you come to dinner that night? I'll reserve the best table for you, right behind the marble column beside the waterfall wall. You'll see everything, but they won't spot you." There was a pause, then Grandma started laughing with that deep, mischievous laugh that always signaled trouble when I was a kid. "Oh, you cunning girl.
Count me in."
Should I wear my pearls for the occasion? Perfect, I said. I'll have Carlos prepare your favorite chocolate souffle. He's been refining that new raspberry sauce you enjoyed last time. I'll bring my camera, Grandma chuckled. This will be better than those reality TV shows you used to watch. After the call, I contacted my assistant, Janet. Clear my schedule for next Saturday evening and ensure the staff knows I'll be managing a special table personally. Of course, Miss Wilson. Anything else? Yes, I replied, my fingers tracing the edge of my business management degree framed on the wall. Have our best champagne chilled, and have Miguel prepare his specialty caviar appetizers. I have a sense it's going to be quite the memorable evening. As I gazed out over my restaurant once more, I couldn't avoid thinking how flawless this was. Emma had always enjoyed her little power struggles, her attempts to embarrass me. This time she was stepping directly into my domain, and I was prepared. Saturday evening arrived, and the restaurant buzzed with its regular weekend vitality. I watched from my office as my sister's party arrived. Emma adorned in a designer dress likely costing more than most people's monthly pay, Sandra with her signature excessive makeup, and Dad appearing older than I recalled. Emma's friends surrounded them, all dressed for the occasion. Grandma, situated at her discreet table and pretending to read the menu while observing everything, winked subtly at me as I passed. Excuse me, Emma's loud voice echoed throughout the restaurant. I specifically asked for my sister Britney as our server. Where is she? I smoothed my tailored suit jacket and approached their table. Emma's face lit up with malicious delight at the sight of me. Oh my goodness, everyone. This is my sister I was telling you about, she announced, gesturing at me like I was some exhibit in a zoo. Still a waitress after all these years. I mean, I've just graduated from state, and she's still handing out plates. The table roared with laughter. Emma led, and even Dad joined in, though he avoided meeting my gaze. Sandra sat wearing that familiar superior smirk. As I stood in my Armani suit, allowing them to find humor in the irony, I asked with professionalism, "What can I get for you this evening?" Emma, pretending to scrutinize the menu, responded, "Well, since you asked, I'll have the lobster thermidor," then added with feigned concern, "Oh wait, can you even afford to eat at a place like this? Are you familiar with what lobster is?" Her friends chuckled forcefully, although a few began to look uneasy. Continuing with disdain after dinner, Emma said, "I want you to personally wash our dishes. I'll even give you a nice tip. Maybe you can buy yourself some proper clothes for once." I noticed Grandma clenching the table's edge, her knuckles white, while some guests whispered amongst themselves, clearly embarrassed by Emma's behavior. Sandra eventually spoke, her voice cool. "Really, Britney, you should be grateful Emma chose your venue for her celebration, though I must admit I'm surprised they've employed someone like you at such a respectable place." "Actually," I responded, my smile unwavering, "I won't be able to take your order or wash your dishes tonight." Emma's face fell dark. "What do you mean you won't? I want to speak to your manager right now. I'll have you fired." "That won't be necessary," I replied calmly. "The manager is already here." "Well, where are they?" Emma demanded, looking around. "You're looking at her." The table fell into absolute silence. Emma's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Dad's face had turned white, and Sandra looked as if she had swallowed something bitter. "That's impossible," Emma finally stammered. "You're lying. You're just a waitress." A familiar voice chimed in. "She's not just the manager. She owns 30% of this restaurant now." Grandma rose from her hidden table and walked over, her heels clicking on the marble floor. The look she gave Dad could have frozen hell itself. "While you were busy spoiling one daughter and crushing the other, I put Britney through college. She worked here as a waitress by day and studied business management at night. Every ounce of her success she earned herself," Grandma continued. Emma leapt up, her face crimson. "That's not fair. You're lying." "She's merely a successful businesswoman who owns part of one of the city's most renowned restaurants," Grandma interrupted again, "who bought herself a luxury apartment while you're still living off Daddy's money. Isn't that right?" Dad finally found his voice. "Mom, Don't you dare, Johnny Wilson," Grandma snapped. "You let that woman turn you against your own daughter. You gave away Britney's college fund, money her mother left specifically for her. Well, guess what? I'm setting things right. I've already amended my will. Everything I own is going to Britney. Every single penny. You can't do that. Emma is your granddaughter too. Sandra interjected, rising from her seat. Emma has had everything handed to her on a silver platter her entire life. Grandma replied coldly. She doesn't need my money, but from what I've observed tonight, she could use some basic human decency. Emma completely lost control, flinging her wine glass across the table, shattering plates and scattering food. This isn't fair. You're all just envious of me. Security, I called out calmly, and two men in black suits appeared instantly. Please escort these individuals out. You can't evict us, Sandra screamed. Do you know who we are? Yes, I do, I replied. You're trespassers causing a disturbance in my restaurant. Leave now, or I'll call the authorities and press charges for the property damage. Emma attempted to snatch another plate, but a security guard restrained her. Dad just stood there, appearing lost, as they were all led to the door. Britney, he called back weakly. Please, can we talk? I turned away and walked off. Over the subsequent months, he tried everything. Calls, emails, even showing up at the restaurant once, but I had security turn him away. That was 5 years ago. The Silver Spoon is now the city's top-rated restaurant, and I have opened 2 additional locations. Grandma kept her promise regarding the will, and luckily, she's still going strong at 75, tending to her garden and visiting the restaurant every Sunday for her chocolate souffle. Last week, I received another message from Emma, something about how she's changed and wants to reconcile. I did what I always do with messages from that chapter of my life, hit delete and return to my work. Some chapters are best left closed.